Hi everyone. So I've promised to do my weekly videos, and here I am. I got some questions. Thank you so much for participating. And so the first one I wanted to address was this. I have started writing a blog. I'm taking therapy sessions. I'm healing from codependency and childhood traumas, but I'm still in the family who is not warm or validating. My main concern is that while writing, I hide parts of me, and I write as if just for the sake of posting. But this way, readers don't feel a connection, and I feel afraid to open up about my experience as it will point the finger at my family. So how should I move forward, and how do you express your authentic self? What was your motivation? So this is a question that I deal with daily, right? How do we show up? How do we show up in this life? Because most of us were raised in families where we were not seen or heard in the way that we needed to be. Families where we needed to adjust ourselves and adapt ourselves to receive attention, to receive validation from our caretakers. It was part of our survival instinct, right? We needed to do that so that our needs were met before we were able to take care of ourselves. So what you're talking about here is that you want to self-express, and this is the voyage, right? The whole purpose of our life is to try to get to the stage where we can express ourselves fully, where we can speak exactly what is important to us, where we can transmit what we are feeling and what we're living. And of course, in order to be able to do that, we have to unravel all the padding, all the layers that we've acquired, all the masks that we've put on in order to be accepted or pleasing to people with whom we share our lives, or people with whom on whom we depend, right? So of course, as we become adults, it's important to realize that we don't really depend on other people to survive, right? We are able to, or at least it's our responsibility to organize our lives in such a way that we can support ourselves. Everything that I teach is about self-responsibility and self-love and self-respect. And when we get to that point in our life where we no longer depend on other people, economically, physically, we then can speak our truth with greater assuredness. A lot of women, for example, that I deal with, that I speak with, and that I coach, are self-sufficient in many, many ways, economically, physically, yet mentally, emotionally, we still don't give ourselves permission to be who we truly are, because we still are stuck in this conditioning that we need to be pleasing to others, or that we need to be accepted by others. And as I posted last week in one of my posts, when I've gotten to the stage in my life where if I have to choose whom I'm going to disappoint, other people or myself, I will always choose to disappoint others. I just no longer want to disappoint myself. I have done a lot of work and have come to this point in my life where my biggest interest is to just get to my truth beyond all the censorship, beyond all the filters and all the masks. Because I think this is really what's missing, right? All of us coming out of codependency, we're trained to hide parts of who we are, filter, censor. But that's what everybody is doing. I think the stories that are sorely missing in our world today are the stories about the truth of our human experience. What is it that we're not daring to speak? What is it that is actually, what are we feeling inside? Things that we're afraid to speak of. What is it that we're ashamed of? Because chances are what you are dealing with, what I am dealing with, lots of other people are dealing with as well. And this is confirmed in all of my conversations and in all of my coaching sessions, that all those things that I'm struggling with, actually, it's common to all of us. And a lot of women face the same questions and the same struggles as I did, and will probably continue. So what is interesting to share, what I found that I must share, is exactly that realness, the human experience that is still hidden, that is not talked about, that we still keep as a secret. And that actually was one of my motivations. My motivation was when I realized that I'm not alone in living this double life, that there is a public me and a private me. I understood that this is what needs to be collapsed. And this is what I actually spend my whole life trying to do now is, whether I'm talking about sexuality or parenthood or relationships or love, I'm really interested in collapsing that public persona, what I used to be, what I used to want to be perceived as, and who I actually am in my private moments, in my real life, in my relationship with myself. So when you ask me, how should you move forward and how to express your authentic self, of course, it all starts with accepting all that you are, coming in contact with those parts that you have not dared to show anyone. And sometimes we don't even see them ourselves until we do a very, very deep personal work. So what are those parts that you're hiding? What are those parts that you're afraid to speak about? What is it about your family that you feel you will not be able to handle if they get angry? I've realized that to me, speaking the truth was more important than any fallout in my relationships that I was going to live. And yes, it's a lonely road. It could get lonely. And you have to have courage for that. You have to just understand what is more important for you. Is your authenticity and your truth more important? Or is it keeping the relationships where you tell me they're not warm or validating, but yet you're still afraid to tell your truth. And I'm not telling you, go ahead and do it, right? This only you know what you can do and what you're prepared to handle and deal with. So how do I express my authentic self and what is my motivation? For me, it was really all about facing the parts of me that I felt ashamed of, welcoming them, loving them, accepting and integrating them, becoming more full of expression, and then daring to let go of people who cannot accept me in my full authenticity, and understanding that speaking my truth, sharing my truth with other people in the hope that this will be of benefit to them is greater to me and more important to me than maintaining relationships who have obviously outlived their time in my life. So it's really you versus you, as I always say. This is the work. It's not validation. It's not approval. It's really just giving yourself permission to speak your truth and not be afraid of the consequences. And it's really, really difficult. I'm not saying it's easy, but I don't think you will be able to connect with other people on the level that you seek, on that level of authenticity and vulnerability, until you are able to break through that needing to please others, members of your family, and accept who you are and love that and trust that you are worthy and that everything that you are is valuable. But only you can do that. Nobody can give you permission to be you. It has to come from within. Only then can you come through with certainty and with this belief and trust that what you're doing is valuable, and have that conviction that your place here is important. So what was my motivation is that it's when I understood that we all are hiding parts of ourselves, that we've been shamed and made to feel unworthy, but that there is nothing shameful or unworthy in our experience, that we're all human beings, and being human is messy and it's complicated, and that compassion and forgiveness that I found toward myself allowed me to start putting those parts of me out there and to disseminate the truth and help others come in contact with these parts of ourselves that we find shameful, because they're not actually. We're all alike. We're all one. And the more I speak to people from all over the world, the more I am assured of that truth, that we're all alike, more alike than we're different. And our truth is needed out there, much more than pretty stories and trying to please others. So I hope this was helpful, and I welcome all of you to send me more questions. I do have some more, and I will continue doing this weekly as I've committed last week. So see you very soon. Bye, everyone.